Hi guys, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be doing my prize winners recommendations video. So every month in 2018 I pick out a particular theme for my TBR, and this month's theme was prize winners. So I always do a recommendations video every month based on that theme. And I have 7 books to talk to you about today. Some of them I've read more recently than others, and you'll have heard me talk about them on my channel if you've been around for a while. Others I read quite a while ago now, and you may not have heard me talk about them. So, like I said, I've got 7 books. Let's jump into the first book. The first book that I want to talk about is Brooklyn. This is by Colm Tóibín, and this won the Costa Novel Award in 2009. And this is the first book that I've read from him, and I absolutely loved it. Read this really recently and talked about it in a lot more detail in my February wrap-up, so I will link that for you if you haven't seen that. So I'm not going to say too much about it here, but this follows a woman called Eilish. I still sort of stumble over how you pronounce her name. I think it's Eilish, and she's struggling to find work in her town. I think is it in Northern Ireland? No, it's the southeast of Ireland in the 1950s. So her family and she decides that she's going to immigrate to Brooklyn in America and kind of start a new life over there. She's been given a job and a place to live, and she's had her sort of shipping paid for her, so she goes over there and she starts a new life. And I really enjoyed this novel. I do think it's really well written. The characterisation was great, and I felt really emotional at times during this book. I felt I could really connect with Eilish's character, and yeah, I would definitely recommend that as something to pick up if you haven't done so already. The next book that I want to talk about was one of my favourites from last year, and it is The Hate You Give, and this is by Angie Thomas. This has won quite a few different awards. The 2 biggest ones are the William C. Morris Award, and I think that's an award aimed at debut YA authors, and the other one is the Waterstones Children Book of the Year Awards for 2018 too. So I was really happy to see that it won those awards this year. I just think it's such a great novel, and it definitely deserves it. This tells the story of Star, and she's friends with a boy called Khalil. She's been friends with him since childhood, and one day they're driving back from a party and the police pull them over, and Khalil is shot by this policeman and he dies, and it's about the fallout of that and sort of how Star's life is affected by it, how the neighbourhood is affected by it, and of course it is inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's just so relevant and so important. And I've talked about this non-stop on my channel, but if you have not read this book, you need to. The next book that I want to talk about is The Colour Purple, and this is by Alice Walker, and this won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1983 along with the National Book Awards in 1983 also. And I was quite reluctant to pick this up. I read it last summer, and it sat on my shelf for quite a while before that. I was really reluctant to pick it up. I'd heard that the language was really hard to get on with, and that I would find it a little bit difficult to follow, but I'm so glad I picked it up. None of those things are true, and I really appreciated, respected and enjoyed this book. So this tells the story of 2 sisters and their lives growing up and as adults in the South, and it's yeah, just about how their 2 lives go and how they the distance between them and how they reconnect again. And Celie, one of the sisters, she is abused by her father as a child, and then her father marries her off to this really horrible husband. And yeah, it's just about sort of like what her life is like in this situation, but also it has some things to do with race and the idea of slavery at this particular time. And I just thought it was absolutely beautifully told, really heart-wrenching, and a really important novel, and I would really urge you to pick it up. I thought it was totally deserving of those two really prestigious awards that it has achieved. And yeah, if you're somebody who's sitting there thinking that this may be a bit too literary for you, or that you might be able to get on with the language or the style of it, I would please pick it up, because I just found it really easy to get into and I really appreciated it. The next novel that I want to talk about is Lincoln in the Bardo, and this is by George Saunders. This won the Man Booker Prize last year, and I've done a full review of this on my channel already, so I'll link that in the cards for you. So I'm not going to talk too much about it here. But this basically tells the story of Abraham Lincoln and his son. I can't remember what his name is. Willie. His son dies at the beginning of the book after a very short illness, and it's about Lincoln dealing with his grief. But it's about so much more than that too. So it's told in this really unique style where you just really appreciate the amount of research that George Saunders did into this novel. There are sections where he has quoted from different historical research that he's done, so from books and from artifacts and from different things like that, and he quotes those to kind of put the narrative together, which is really clever. But also there are these sections that he tells in the cemetery, and it's told from the perspective of ghosts that are living in this, living is probably the wrong word, but the ghosts that are, yeah, well, I'll just have to say living in the cemetery, and it's just about kind of them and their perspectives and things, and it's just really clever, and I thoroughly enjoyed this, was really interested in it all the way through, totally appreciated the style of it, and thought it was well deserving of the Man Booker Prize last year. So definitely, if you haven't done already, give this one a go. The next novel that I want to talk about I read quite a while ago now, and it is The Shock of the Fall, and this is by Nathan Filer, and this won the Costa Book Award in 2013. I think it won the First Novel Award first of all, and then it won the overall award later on that year. And this basically tells the story of Matthew, and at the beginning of the book him and his brother Simon, I think it is, they're on holiday with their parents, and they sneak out of their caravan in the middle of the night, and Simon has some sort of accident and he dies. And then the narrative switches forward 10 years to when obviously Matthew's a lot older, and it's about how he has dealt and not dealt with the death of his brother. And the commentary on here on mental illness and the way that Nathan Filer has put this story together is just stunning. I really thought it was absolutely excellent. It's sort of told in different sort of ways. So for example, you've got sections where there are sort of time things on here, sort of about what happened, and then there are bits where you've got like letters to him, and then things that he's writing, letters that he's writing to his parents and things like that. And yeah, it's just absolutely fabulous. So this is one that will not take you that long to read either. I think I read it in a couple of days. But it's definitely one that will stick with you. And sort of pulling it out today as I was kind of putting together ideas for this video, it reminded me of just how great it is, and I really want to reread it at some point. The next novel that I want to talk about is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, and this is by Gail Honeymoon. Of course, I couldn't put this video together without mentioning this. And this obviously won the Costa First Novel Award this year. It's just been nominated for the, well, it's been longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction for 2018 as well. See, I talked about that in my reaction video, which I'll link for you. Again, I've done a full review of this on my channel, so again, I'll link that for you if you're interested in a few more of my thoughts. But yeah, I couldn't resist putting it in here because I just think so many more people should read it. If you haven't, you just need to. And if you're kind of thinking there's so much hype surrounding this book now, it's totally worth the hype. You need to jump on that train. The last novel that I want to talk about is Snow Falling on Cedars, and this is by David Gutterson, and I read this I think about 7 or 8 years ago now. And yeah, was totally captivated by it. This tells the story of a murder trial basically. So it's set in 1954 on an island, a fictional island just off of the coast of Washington. Is it Washington State? Yeah, Washington State. And a Japanese American called, reading from my phone here, Kabuo Miyamoto, has been accused of killing this well-respected fisherman in the town called Carl Hine. And the book follows the trial of Miyamoto and sort of what happens in that case. And it's told from a few different perspectives, and it jumps back and forth in time. And the real crux of the novel is about the fact that, you know, America is in this sort of state of Japanese sort of hate because of what happened at Pearl Harbor. So there's a lot of hatred between the Japanese community on this island and then the white American community on this island. And like I said, it's told from a few different perspectives, including a journalist who's covering the case, and then the Miyamoto family, and then other people on the island as well. And thought it was really, really good. Again, this is one that I read quite a while ago, and I was sort of thinking about the fact that I'd really like to reread this as well. But I would definitely recommend this as a great one to pick up. And what I didn't say was that it won the PEN Faulkner Award for Fiction in 1995. So there you go guys, they were all of my recommendations for prize winners. I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments below. Have you got any recommendations for me of novels or works of non-fiction that have won prizes that you think are totally deserving of those prizes and that I would enjoy? Yeah, love getting recommendations from you guys. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.